First thing I want to say, Through the Nebula, an album I made with some friends. It is out now. Link in description if you're listening to this on YouTube, and if it's like Spotify, just follow my Insta and go the link, or whatever. Or just literally look up, if you're on Spotify, Through the Nebula and give it a listen. First thing I want to say. And now let's... Woo! What is Through the Nebula? Through the Nebula is an album I helped create, as in I made 2 tracks for the album. And did I help with any other tracks? No. So when I call this a collaborative album, it's not really a collaborative album. It's more like, okay, people from around the world, including Malaysia, get together and release an album, periodically. This is our second album, and holy cow, it's way better. It is way better than the first album. If you want to listen to the first album, you can look it up. It's just called The Time Cube. It's our name. So much better. And for this podcast today, I'm just going to be talking about Through the Nebula, my thoughts about it, some behind the scenes stuff, some stories, including that our album cover was spelled wrong originally. We'll get to there. And a lot more. Today, Saturday, April 10th, I have that written down on this piece of paper because I'm a thorough, responsible podcast host. My name is Henry Boy, and you are listening to episode 8. Episode 8, can we take a moment and appreciate that we got 8 episodes in? That this podcast has survived what I like to call, I overhyped, just quarantine, like summer quarantine. It survived that because that's when this podcast started. I just, enough of this blah, 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 but 8 episodes. And now, after this album is released, we're getting back on track, and we're going to be releasing this podcast every 2 weeks as per normal. And we're going to give you all the updated, juicy details about all the music drama, about what's new in music, and all that shenanigans. Last podcast, Daft Punk and Chick Corea passed away. That feels like a while ago. But April 10th, podcast did have to get delayed, because I was making an album, releasing an album. Listen to the album, it's great. It has 15 songs, and in total has 1 hour and 1 minute of music. We also have a Discord, which has maybe 8 people, and if you want to go talk to some strangers who like music and theoretically like the album, link in bio or link in description. Okay. So let's talk about the first album. Let's just talk about the first album. Let's go back. Sophomore year of high school. I'm like, music is cool. My friend, his name is not Psy, but we will call him Psy. No, not SIGHPSYPE. You might be like, that's a stupid name. And well, sorry that I want to say my thoughts about it, but we're like, oh my gosh, yeah, music's cool. And then he shows me like a mobile garage band thing he's working on. I'm like, oh, that's hip. And then we're like, okay, and we made a band. Let's get one of our friends in it. And he joins, and then he's like, oh, let's get this random guy from a video game Discord server I know. We get the random guy. His name is Perfect Fifth, his artist name. Link, and just all the links, freaking, I hate saying that crap. Link in description. Just every single link for the rest of the podcast is there. If you want to look at it, go there. If you don't, who cares? He gets on, and I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is. Where does he live? What's his name? Still to this day, I don't know where he lives or what his name is. I'm joking about what his name is. Where he lives, though, I have no idea. I think it's like Philadelphia or something. I don't freaking know. Maybe Virginia, the Virgin Islands or something. But essentially, we're like, okay, so let's just like make some tracks, and but what should we call ourselves? And I don't think anyone in the group remembers this, but going way back into the beginning in my English class, where me and Sai and this other kid, Jonah, we were in this class, we do group projects, and we use Google Docs to put all the information, the quotes, and the links in the Google Doc, as you do. And I made this section called The Time Cube. and it was like a subgenre of this section in the Google Doc called Xiaode. I'll get through this quickly, but essentially what Xiaode was just like where you put all your random crap when you're like bored and tired. So then, the Google Doc was organized. Here's the legit stuff. Here's the random spammy crap. Because of course, as sophomores in high school, you can't focus for more than like 8 minutes at a time. So that's what Xiaode was for. And then Time Cube was like a subgenre of that, where it was like you just put stuff there. But I'm like, let's call it the Time Cube. And then that like stuck. So frankly, the name came from a Google Doc thing. But that's fine, it sticks. It's like, what is the Time Cube? I don't know. Me and the people in the Time Cube, we were discussing that the other day. We're like, is this a place, a person, a thing, an idea? It's like, I don't know. It's just 2 words, and it's Time Cube and the Time Cube. But that's how we got the name. We're in this Discord call, and we're like, okay, let's make music. 3 months later, so I go talk to Cool Man Zan. He's like, oh no, I haven't done anything. Okay, Perfect Fifth. Oh yeah, I made a song. Shoot, what is it called? Is it Woozy? Yeah, Woozy. Listen to it, and I was like, oh shoot, that's really good. David, what have you done? Oh, kind of some trap stuff. Okay, then what did I do? An ambient thing, and like a mobile garage band thing, and a stylophone thing, as you do. So maybe like 5 months later, we come back into a Discord call. Okay, Cool Man Zan, what have you done? Oh, I haven't done anything. Okay, Cool Man Zan, we really need you to just get 1 track in, okay? Psy, Perfect Fifth, what have you done? Oh yeah, we made all these tracks. Oh yeah, those sound really good. And then I got this kid, a friend of mine, Daniel, to do like 2 tracks, and that was like super last minute. Fish on the Toilet and like Tooth Lettuce, stunning tracks, and they actually did really well in the first album. And we're like, okay, Xander, we'll delay the release like 2 months, 1 month, so you can make a song. 2 months later, so Xander, what have you done? Nothing. Okay, well, we released the album, and Xander didn't have anything on it. So that was essentially the story of the first album. Very quick, very scuffed. I've talked about this in my other podcast with my girlfriend, or maybe this one, but on the day of release, we decided to release this album, July 4th, which I think, frankly, it's really stupid, but a part of me was like, it's just funny. It's like July 4th. It's like, that's just such a bad holiday. Overall, it's just, who cares, really? It's just it's just like white dad barbecue holiday. Like, I don't want my album or an album I worked on to be associated with that, but it doesn't matter. July 4th comes around. I am like the distributor, manager, in charge of Apple Music, Spotify, and everything else. So I manage the distribution of the album besides YouTube, SoundCloud, and Bandcamp. Every other thing, I'm in charge of that essentially. So I think I'm a little stressed out. It's my first album release. I'm like, I don't really know how to use DistroKid. And for some reason, I'm at my girlfriend's house, and it's like 10 o'clock. And, as you do, you like we got in a fight about something. I remember what now. I'm not going to share the details, but in retrospect, it didn't need to happen that day at all. A day that back then was very important to me. I'm like, this is an album release, and we got in a fight, and then I'm like, it kind of ends. There's just that horrible bad mood in both parties, and then it's like 11:50. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be here. I do not want to be in this house right now because we just got in a fight. You're annoyed at me. You're sitting in the corner. You look like you hate me. I don't want to be here right now, but it's a 10-minute drive home, and I have to make sure this album gets released on all these platforms because I was in charge of that, right? I have to make sure it's successful and stay up. for the album release, right? As you do. So I have to stay there with my girlfriend just mad at me. And like no beef. No beef to this day. It's a part of the story. The album gets released, but it didn't release on Spotify. I kind of start freaking out, right? And David's text me in the group chat. He's like, yo, what's going on? What's going on? Keep me updated. And this is on my phone because I wasn't at my house. I'm doing everything on my phone. I'm like signing in into like 3 different things, trying to just figure out how it's chaotic and horrible. It was bad. It releases on like some platforms. I eventually go home. The fight gets resolved, and I stay up super, super late because I went on vacation the next day. So I like stayed up all night trying to figure out how to get the DistroKid. They give you this hyperlink, how to get, Apple Music, Spotify, and all these other things show up on that link. Now looking back, it's dumb, but I didn't know that some things don't automatically show up on the hyperlink. You have to go to Spotify and then copy and paste the Spotify link into the hyperlink. So I had to, look up the time cube and like hunt it down. And it was just a mess. And figuring that out was just crazy. I remember very vividly, like the iTunes store, just like, okay, I'll look it up. And then I see the album there. And I'm like, what the heck in the iTunes store? I'm like so confused. But that was, story of the first album. Sorry, the mic, everything about this mic is just scuffed. This thing won't go down for some reason. It's just stuck there. So now it's just awkward and in the way and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, that's the first album. Was I proud of the album back then? Yes. I do like my tracks, and I think it's cool that I did 2 of them in Audacity. Well, that might sound super ghetto to some people, but frankly, limiting yourself is the best way to be creative, and it shows that, frankly, I unintentionally limited myself to death. To death. I didn't mix shiz. Well, okay, volume sliders, but like EQing, none of that. For Viz Hey and Boo Boo Bop, I did the smallest amount of like mixing for No Beach and Mobile GarageBand, but frankly, it did just, that was you can't really mix too well in Mobile GarageBand, just in the app. But no, I think it was good that I started there using Audacity and Mobile GarageBand, right? Because if you can't make something good or just something decent, which I'm not going to go and say my tracks are good, but like decent, they got the job done. If you can't make something decent in Audacity, just using it, piano, synths, whatever you have, saxophone, then you aren't going to be able to make something good in Ableton. Or what are the other things? Fruit Loops. What's like the main one? Dude, what's the main one? Not the main one, but the one everyone like uses for mixing, the one Hans Zimmer uses. I want to say Premiere Pro, no. I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. Just all the DAWs. You're not going to be able to make something good. And I think it's good that I started from like the bottom, I guess. But the tracks were decent. If you want to watch the behind the scenes of Boo Boo Bop, link in bio probably. It's not an interesting video. There's no cuts. It's just literally me in Audacity with a scrunchie in my hair. It's very like, okay, this is obviously quarantine. You just get the quarantine vibe from the video. Everything about it. And the way I am, how I'm acting, just everything. Now, we're all in agreement that, like, oh, this is not the last album. So let's talk about this album, which should be the main focus of this show today. Through the Nebula. The first Discord call, we just talk about it. We talk about, frankly, what went bad about the first album. A main thing was the track order. That wasn't a thing we talked about last album. I inadvertently was in charge of that, and I just put all the tracks. I was like, okay, Woozy is a great first track, we'll do that. And then I put all the tracks just so the artist would switch off, so it wouldn't be like Perfect Fifth and then Perfect Fifth. It'd be like Perfect Fifth and then Henry Poli and then Psy and then Daniel Nelson and then Perfect Fifth, which makes for a really bad, like, if you listen to the album, it doesn't really flow. But frankly, that album, I think it's great. It doesn't flow because it just shows, that single fact just explains everything about the album. It was the first album. It was a little scuffed. It was, frankly, in my life, a pretty bad time, and probably a lot of people's lives, like COVID. Just working mobile garage, man. But yeah, we talked about that, and we're like, okay, we are going to make this album, we're going to make the tracks just flow beautifully into one another. That was the main thing. Second thing, the release, little scuffed. Spotify, as I said, the night of the release, I did get it to work, so it wasn't even that scuffed. But get everything released on the day of. Another big thing, have Xander do a track. And then what's the name of the album? I remember the Discord call, we just kind of decided, we came up with some names, and then Through the Nebula, it was a little controversial. Some people were like, I think Cool Man Zan wasn't a fan. He was like, but that's like cringe. It's like Through the Nebula. Like, what are you doing in the nebula? Psy wanted to call it Lift Off. So once again, not the greatest name. Like, with all due respect, if you want to name an album Lift Off, name the first album Lift Off, right? But because it's like, oh, space, we're lifting off, but the first album we're like in space, so that doesn't make sense. But I think Through the Nebula now fits perfectly with the album cover, which we'll get to. I think it works super great. So we're like, okay, let's all just do 3-4 tracks, and frankly, bro, like 5 months later, we have another Discord meeting. That's just how it works on the time cube. It's just like 5 months meeting, 5 months meeting, and whatnot. I actually got a celebration meeting like 8 o'clock today. That will be fun. 5 months or whatever pass by, and we get together, and I'm working on my tracks. Everybody's working on their tracks. It's all going well. 5 months later, whatever, I lose every single Ableton thing I've ever done, including my time cube stuff, but including like the biggest loss was this 10-minute synth thing they spent so much time doing. It was for my album, which was like, it was on its way to being done. But anyways, if you want more in-depth behind the scenes of that, go watch the behind the scenes videos for the Cosmos, because in that video it shows the creation of the song, which got deleted. The very in-depth creation of that song, which was originally going to be the Cosmos, and that got deleted. I think the Cosmos ended up great though, so it doesn't matter. So I lose all my stuff, and then frankly I'm like, yeah, so I don't really want to do this, Everyone's stuff was done at that point. I'm like, dude, like, okay, I guess maybe I can get one like minute-long interlude in or something, but I'm just not feeling it. Like, I lost all my stuff, dude. I don't want to do this. And then, I do it, and I make 2 pretty hefty tracks, which, as per usual, the behind the scenes videos if you want more in-depth detail about how they were made. But I made the tracks, In a Dream and then The Cosmos. Halfway through the process, I decided that, okay, In a Dream could fade into The Cosmos. That'd be cool. But so I make them. We delayed the album so I could make them. And then we get the album art. So for the first album, we got Psy's sister in maybe 1 hour. Like 30 minutes. I was texting David while this was happening. 30 minutes, like 4 days before the release for the first album, she makes the album cover. Where like this album beforehand, she made kind of a test album cover and like no one liked it. Like no one liked it. So we're like, okay, let's not use David's sister. David, he's just kind of, I guess, became not necessarily in charge of the album cover, but because his sister was in charge of the last one, kind of just worked out. He's like, okay, guys, give me just art suggestions for the album, right? So I'm looking through Pinterest. I just look up like space vaporwave pics, right? I send in some cool stuff, but while I'm on Pinterest, I see this guy and he's like, yeah, I'll make your album art for $15. And I send the Discord that link, and we used this guy. David became in charge of that. He did all of that work. I don't know what David said or what photos David gave. David is Psy. It doesn't matter. Gave to this guy who is Egyptian, apparently. But he gives us this album cover, and it's the album cover that you do not see on iTunes or Apple Music or Bandcamp or Spotify or YouTube. It is not the album cover. And this is pretty incredible. We get the album cover, we're like, sick, this kind of vaporwave, but it's like through the nebula, spacey. It's like, it works well. We all loved it. Besides Alexander, he was like, but it looks good. It looks professional. And he dug that because it definitely does look professional. Like $15 for this pretty legit album art. Time goes by and we all stare at this album. We look at it multiple times. Through and Through the Nebula was spelled wrong. Through and Through the Nebula was spelled wrong. It was like spelled. It was spelled in a way where it's like almost impossible to spot, but when you spot it, it's an impossible to like not unsee. It was spelled like Tro, I think. THOUGH. There was like no R or something. Maybe a week before the album release, we show the album cover to our friend Jonah. He's not in the band or a musical group of artists. And he just is like, oh, that's spelled wrong. And we were all at my house. The entire time cube besides Ken, Perfect Fifth. Of course, because they don't live near us. But the entire time cube was at my house. And we start freaking out. We're like, wow. Our album cover is spelled wrong. And we've been staring at this thing for maybe 4 weeks. And none of us noticed until maybe a week before the release. So we start freaking out, right? We're like, okay, dude, what do we do? I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can change it. Like, I've already submitted the album to be processed on DistroKid. Thankfully, I checked, and you can go and edit the album cover and many other things after you submit it to DistroKid. And we're like, we already posted the announcement photo. That's the thing. We already posted the photo, I think, that day of the album cover. And it's the album cover that was spelled wrong, right? Let me see if it's still up. I think it's still up on our Instagram. TROUGH, the Nebula. Yeah, and then on album release day, we released the album, and we released the photos, THROUGH, the Nebula. So how did that happen? Well, apparently the guy is Egyptian who made the album. David talks to me. He's like, "Hey, I know it's been like 3 weeks. I don't know how I didn't notice this, but can you spell through correctly? Can you just like add an R or H, whatever was spelled wrong?" Thankfully, Egyptian guy. It's probably not good. I'm calling him Egyptian guy. Kind of sucks, but I don't know his real name. I don't know what else to refer to him as. He/him. But he gets us the album cover, and the day is saved. As I said before, I look at DistroKid, and thankfully I can edit. I put in the new album cover into DistroKid, and then I get this email from DistroKid being like, "Okay, it was successfully put in. This feature is experimental, and on the release, some stores, the album cover might not be corrected." I'm like, wow, great, we're using experimental features right now. That's awesome. But it worked, and that, the album cover, as far as I know, is spelled correctly everywhere besides that one Instagram post on the official TimeCube Instagram, which is a very lackluster Instagram account. It's no Teddy B. No Teddy B. But yeah, dude, that is the behind the scenes. Just of the TimeCube. That's like our whole story. Let's talk about more specifically though. Creating my tracks for the album. It was just, as I said, just a complete freaking mess. Having everything get deleted. Like, honestly, this was a very stressful release for me. Stressful as in, there were like three piano lessons. I know this might not seem like a big thing, but having 3 lessons, piano lessons, that is very expensive, that I'm not really prepared for. Like, prepared, I have some stuff, but like, just very lacking. Saying that, it's more metaphorical. Let me make sure the camera's off. Okay, sorry, this camera just periodically turns off. It smells really good in this room because of these candles. As I said, the piano, it's just more metaphorical for my life during those 3 weeks. I write down every single time I practice and for how long, and yeah, definitely had to just go way down my practicing. This room became a complete mess. This basement has never been worse looking. This couch had to be all the way over there. This table, I don't know if you can see, but completely moved. I had to rearrange the whole basement because I had to shoot like 2 music videos in maybe like a week. And then I had the ACT. Like 4 weeks later, yesterday I got my score back. Was it good? No, but no surprise. Standardized testings. I'll talk about that in another podcast, but I just think it's just like BS. Standardized testing tests your ability to take standardized tests, which is not a skill that I've really developed that incredibly during my lifetime. Like, taking tests, yeah, I've developed that skill, but, there's more to life. But besides the point. That was just a ACT tangent. I freaking hate that. The point being that it was stressful in my life in March. It was chaotic. I'm like, how the advertising for the last album was non-existent. How do I advertise this now that I have 1,000 followers on my Instagram account? There's a very big opportunity for me to be able to get a lot of people to listen to this album. That leads to my next topic. Advertising. That was just a whole thing. Advertising, the music videos, I didn't really see them as music videos. Oh, I saw them as music videos, but the point of them was advertising. You release music videos to advertise and to say that you've made a music video and to make a really cool thing, which I think I did. Like a really cool thing. I am proud of that music video. Or like live performance. But it was for advertising, you know? And on my Instagram story, maybe I had this like 6-day countdown where I would hold up this sign and with the number like 6, and then on Instagram it'd be like days before release. And I got my girlfriend super sporadically to help me with that. Just random day, you know, get home from Savers. Oh, camera turned off. I apologize that always happens. I don't really know why it happens, but no big deal. We cut out these cardboards, and frankly, it's like, where do we shoot photos of myself in this pretty bland, not crazy interesting town? Like, Teddy P is much more of an urban look. It's not like fields and trees. Okay, there's a part of Teddy P that's like fields and trees, but just trying to find the Teddy P aesthetic randomly. Light was going down. It was the sunset, and we had to do a photo where I was holding out 3 separate cardboard signs, album out now, and right with the sun going down and getting a shoot like that, you can't have the lighting change at all. So we had to get that done first. We just go to this church parking lot, get that done, and it's just like boom, 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 rush. And I really just have, Jillian, if you see this for some reason, thank you. And she was a very good girlfriend. From taking photos of me holding up signs. I just think it's so funny looking back. CD, that just dropped. I'll talk about that. Basement here was a mess. I have photos of it. It was just insane. Shooting the music videos for In a Dream. That was maybe a 2-week like process. Because everything is played like live. Nothing is overdubbed. Everything took many takes. It was a pain. I had to duplicate myself. I had to do some crazy masking stuff because my shadow overlapped myself. And wow, it was kind of a mess. But in the end, I got it released the day after the release of the album, which was my plan for advertising reasons, keep up the hype. I'm proud of it. Link in description if you want to watch the video. Or if you're watching this on the Teddy P YouTube channel, just click my face, and then it's literally like the video before this one. It has like 5 views on the YouTube channel, but it did much better on Instagram and stuff. So, yeah. Anyways. Here's, I guess, a shameless plug for anyone that lives in Utah. If you live in Utah, the crazy Mormon state, I have made CDs through the Nebula. Full-on CDs. You do not have to pay for these CDs. I will give them to you for free. I can give you like 5. If you have 5 people, but I'm not going to give one person 5 CDs. But if you live anywhere in Utah, contact me, email me. I've made it very easy on all social media platforms to be able to contact me. DM me on Instagram if you want one. And if you live, or if you know me personally and are watching this, I will give them to you. But, yeah, man. Making CDs, I've never burned a single thing to a CD before. I use CDs in my car a lot, but that's about all I knew about CDs. Making them, getting these covers, making this very simple gradient in this text, but this took a while, making this gradient. I don't have Photoshop. I've never used Photoshop a day in my life. I didn't even use Photoshop to make this. I used some random software, and I had to look up every single thing. Just like, how do I resize an image, right? And eventually I made this gradient using the colors of the album cover, which I think the colors are great. And it's a very simple design, but hey, minimalism is cool, right? And just barely today, well, a couple days ago, I burned all the tracks, and that was the iffy process. That took like 2 days because it was just kind of a mess doing this for the first time, and then buying the stickers, and then getting the thing to put the stickers on this thing, and then printing out the stickers so they would work with this. It was crazy. Paid all in my pocket, but I'm just handing them out for free. And the really cool thing would be like tape, but that's just a whole other thing. I'm thinking of making I have, I think 10 of these right now, which might not be a lot, but I'm gonna be doing more. I'm thinking making like a deluxe CD, and I will put my live performance of In a Dream on there. Maybe some like bonus track or something. Maybe I'll make some bonus thing, some ambient synth thing or something, and like the live version of the ending of Through the Cosmos, or just like as a bonus, like small track. I think I'll do that, kind of make a deluxe one of these. But yeah, it was just fun making a CD. It was hard. I don't know if I'll do that for my own album or what, but right, it's all about just learning. I'm growing up, and soon I'll be 18, and then it's like, okay, you're expected to know how to just do stuff. So this was a learning experience, right? And that's what growing up is about. But anyways, how is the time cube done? Like, through the Nebula, how is it done? Am I happy with it? Am I proud? Am I glad it's done? Well, the very short and sweet answer to, I think, all of those questions would be yes, yes, and yes. I'm yes to all of those things. On Spotify, as of today, we have 400 streams. I think that's really good for this album. 400 streams. And how many followers do we have on TimeCube? Like, I don't even know. I think we have like 300 or something. We have 453. So I think that's a really good ratio, actually, for the amount. I think it's good. And that's only on Spotify. The top song of all time on Apple Music, and I'm very proud and very excited and happy to share this, it is The Cosmos. And that's one of the songs I made, and that's really surprising. I guess shout out to Davis, Christian, Daniel, and my dad for probably making that happen. But, you get supportive people, you get supportive friends, and, stuff like that happens. But it goes The Cosmos, Mornings at the Space Cafe, which I think is also top on Spotify because it's the first thing in the album, of course. And then it goes Fish on the Toilet. Most of our audience is not on Apple Music, but hey, Fish on the Toilet, it is a bop. If there's uniqueness award, which I love that award. I love making unique music. I hate calling that, but Fish on the Toilet does win that mark. So that's how it's performing. And it's not about how well it performs. So of course it's great to be like, oh yeah, an album I helped on and I spent so much time working on did well. Like, in the end, I make something and I put it out there in the world and I want people to listen to it. That's not the point. The point is like the journey, but people listening to it is a reaction, right? I guess you put it out, people react and listen to it. And preferably, you want lots of people to listen to it and enjoy it. And I've gotten many, many funny people. I've had many funny, like my girlfriend's cousin. He was high as balls. He texts her. He's like, tell Henry his album is slapping my cheeks hard. He's high as balls. Like, I just love that. I love that so much. And he said Henry's album, which annoys me. This is not my album. And I don't know if he meant that, just He probably meant that as, like, it's not my album, but, like, he knows me, so he just calls it Henry's album. Because I want to give credit to everybody else in the album, right? It's the Time Cube, it's not Teddy B. But he's like, yeah, slaps my cheeks. I love that. I can just imagine that so well. So when Highsballs listen to this album, getting an emotional response out of someone who I've never talked to, that is what it's about. Making someone feel something. I think in the end, that's like the fundamental. Like, if I can make someone literally feel anything, if they're Highsballs and they're like, oh, this is so crazy, oh, then I won, And like, I did my job, right? And there's many things that you have to do to get to that point. Mixing, mastering, creating it, getting people to perform or record things on your tracks, listening to it over and over, countless late nights being like, do I like that? Do I not like that? Do I keep this part? Do I make this part shorter? Do I add this? Oh no, now it's cluttered. Just all of this becomes worth it when you make someone happy, or you make someone sad, or you make someone annoyed, or you make somebody like, I don't like this. Like, if someone's like, I don't like this, and I got them to feel that, I still think it's a win. Like, they might not like the genre of music. They might not like weird ambient saxophone music, and I get that. Like, I'm not going to take it personally if you don't like my stuff, The point is just, I release myself out there, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, that's awesome. Listen to what you like, And what are some more things? It's always like something to do with my girlfriend. My girlfriend, her family, they loved it. My girlfriend's dad, this is funny. He texts her, and he's, my girlfriend advertised this, which is great. That goes to Damien Keys being like, friends and family are the greatest resources for advertising. I'm seeing that come to fruition because, yeah, get some good friends and family who will advertise your album. Her dad listened to it on YouTube, the full album on YouTube for Through the Nebula. It has like 43 views, I think. He's talking about, yeah, man, ask Henry if he uses the Mixolydian mode. I'm like, what? I keep reading. Yeah, so a lot of ambient music uses Mixolydian because, it just creates a really cool vibe. I thought it was really funny. And he created this whole story for, I think, the track Bomb or Up Arrow. He like wrote out this story, and it's like, dude, that's just so cool. So cool. And sure, there's countless other stories, Of course, I'm not going to hear anything. The fact that I even heard people talk about the album, that's awesome. Yeah. And let's talk about one sec. I'm a thirsty boy. Hopefully just kind of the rambling is okay. Water is great. Drink more of it, I'm telling you, dude. It'll make you feel better. Now, after the album release, it's very strange. It's spring break. It is Saturday. I have a chemistry test Tuesday. I go back to school Monday for the last term of my junior year in high school, which don't need to go into details, but like, I'm over it, right? Like, so over it. Just senioritis at hardcore, right? As a junior. It's just kind of weird. It's not like I use Time Cube as an excuse for not keeping up, like, my hygiene, my mental health, my sanity, my basement. But at the same time, I did use it as an excuse, but I don't like calling it an excuse. Like piano lessons, I didn't go there and I was like, well, I'm making an album, I'm not prepared. But I knew that was the reason, right? I'm recording, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm advertising, I'm getting people hyped. And it's hard kind of after like a lot of just effort into this album. It's hard kind of going back to normal, I guess. Like I think I've ditched school. Did I ditch school? I inadvertently ditched school and ditched music things to work on stuff. Not Time Cube, not through the Nebula, but because I spent so much time doing through the Nebula, I had to put off other things, and then I had to ditch certain things to do those things. It's just this cycle. So inadvertently, like, my life got crazy. Just, yeah, whatever. It's kind of weird just going back to normal. Like, the spring break has been kind of strange. Just like, there's always the feeling of being overworked and then suddenly having a break for a week of being like, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And maybe that's something I can work on. So I like doing things, and there's always something for me to do, Maybe that's bad. It's probably a little toxic, but I think it's natural to be like, whoa, suddenly I can just relax. And that's just kind of weird. I know that's probably not good, but kind of weird. And now it's just kind of stressful, I guess, going back to normal, being like, okay, I don't have an excuse. I just practice. I gotta, get good grades. I gotta do all this stuff. It's like back to normal, And musically, it's strange because like, it was so weird. I started a new Ableton Live project. After working on this album for so long, it was so surreal, like just like making something new. Like I wasn't listening to my own song. I wasn't listening to anybody else's song. I made something new, and that was so weird. And it was kind of inspiring, like, wow, yeah, let's get back into this, Let's get back into this. And here's the final segue. Really, like, what's next? What is next? Is Time Cube done? No, Time Cube is not done. I will be clear, we have not had a celebration meeting since the album release. As I said, that's happening at 8 o'clock tonight, today, at the time of this recording. And I'm sure we will discuss the next album. But what will happen with Teddy P? What are my personal next projects? Well, that is the question. I have some big plans. Now I think is a very important time in my life. That might sound really stupid, but I think just right now is what determines what I'm doing for the rest of my life, I guess. Maybe I'm wording it like that's dramatic, but this summer is like kind of the last summer I have to just grind out some stuff to decide what do I like doing, what do I not like doing. Because then it's like summer after that, then that's like, college and stuff. And then, yeah, I think this time's very important. Like, I released an album, and now there's some very crucial, I think, months that are awaiting. And that's kind of stressful, but it's also okay to be like, yeah, we're just going to go through this, and we're going to just make some stuff, and we're going to get good at instruments. And I'm doing more, like, theoretically, I'm going to be signed up with a record label, which I'm not really going to talk about that right now. But with some peeps, at gigging, it's been really fun, like, just doing, like, jams and stuff. So, I don't know. I think I've grown a lot since last year. It's surreal looking back and being like, wow, I made my tracks in Audacity. I think a big thing this year has been the growth of the music production side of my musical facilities. for reals, I think that's been a really big part. Recording, splicing, editing, mixing, mastering, all of that. Because I didn't know how to do any of this exactly 1 year ago. Because exactly 1 year ago, it's kind of like the start of the time cube, like quarantine during the summer, school got canceled. 1 year ago, I feel like I was kind of the same, but also I think about things, I'm like, wow, no, I was just less skilled and less willing to just like, I don't know. Now I feel like let's get this bread, Like, let's get the job done. Let's make the best stuff we can. Let's do good. I don't know, maybe my work ethic has improved, maybe my mindset, but still, my mindset can kind of suck when it comes to music making in any aspect, whether that's practicing or producing music. But I like to think I've grown. I think this album release is, frankly, we're taking on a more of a metaphorical meaning to it, because it's like, yeah, did it. And I am really proud of this release. I wasn't proud of the last release. I wasn't really proud of the stuff I made, but I'm like, the stuff I made, I loved. The In a Dream is so weird and so random, but I've been listening to more and I just really like it. And everything else on the track, other people have made so much stuff. They've put their souls in this album, and I love their stuff. I love it so much. Ken's stuff, so good. Like, there's some retro wave, there's drums and bass, perfect fifth stuff. Start of like great stuff in the album. I'm just really proud of it overall. And one time I took this like personality test, and I forgot what the word is, but the word for like how proud you are of the things you do, and I scored pretty low on that, and I think that makes sense. I also scored a little too high on the not narcissistic, like, no, the entitled, like self-entitled, feeling deserving, I guess, of like things, and I can see where that comes from, but I'm not someone, I believe, at least I like to think, I sit here and do nothing that something is going to happen. Like, I'm a good person, I deserve people to be good to me. No, I think that's such total bullshit. And especially in music, I am so much about, like, you work hard, and there's a chance it will come back to you and benefit. But honestly, it's not even like what you put in, you get out. Like, in real life, even that, if you work hard, let's say you go to LA, you work hard 5 years, you're not necessarily going to make it. And that's the reality. But I'm definitely a believer of practice hard. Let's say practice music hard. And then in the end, eventually, things will come to you. And so just the self-entitled thing seems a little weird. I think where that comes from is I feel like I do work hard, so I deserve stuff. I think that's where it comes from. It's not like I don't do anything, I deserve stuff. No, I think it comes from I do stuff, thus meaning I deserve stuff. And that needs to stop, because I know people that do much less than me and are much more like, but I deserve stuff. They need to figure themselves out, right? But I don't know. I think that mindset that I have can stop, frankly. That I don't inherently deserve stuff because I worked hard. I don't. But, yeah. I think it's a balance. Like, I think I'm probably more deserving, but just like self-entitled musicians are bad. It's bad. That was a very strange side rant. Point being, I'm just proud of the album. And do you think it deserves success? Well, I would love for people to listen to it. So as per usual, if you haven't listened through the Nebula, give it a listen. But that's going to be the end of this podcast. Get a little personal there at the end, or just a little like funky, talking about personality tests, whatever. But more like just like I'm working hard because I was talking about this like transition period in my life, and I just feel like, it's important. But anyways, this is also like wrapping up the spring break. I just don't want to go back to school. I don't. I hate it. Like it's just like BS. I'm not trying to be like pretentious. I'm not above anybody in this school. I'm not like above the school. But honestly, the way I'm thinking, the things I do, I think are more important than the things I do in school. And if you want to think that's pretentious or entitled, go ahead, but that's just how I feel. My time can be better spent. But also, the rest of my life I have to do whatever I want. Be an adult. But so I will appreciate the time I have in high school. And I need to remember that because it'll end. And then you're just going to have your life. And then you retire, right? So I don't want to be too much of a, I'm better than this. But yeah. So long. Farewell. As per usual, thank you all for the fish. If you made it this far, wow. That's pretty cool. That's pretty hip. But so long, farewell. Thanks for all the fish.